Hey, what's up? I'm ChrisJ.Wright, and today is the first official day of the Moment of Truth Straight Talk Series podcast. I started the Moment of Truth Straight Talk series to show rawness and relatability through social media, to advocate for mental health through self care by sharing my life story through my experiences. My mom passed away when I was 24 years old. She was terminally ill. I miss her. When she comes to mind, as she always does, I'm reminded of the words she used to say to show me that she loved me. Lizard face, come here. I would then proceed to see what she wanted and walk upstairs. And once I got upstairs, she would say, go back downstairs and get me some water. And then I would look at her and say, I just walked all the way upstairs and you tell me to go back downstairs to get you some water. What? And then she'd give me that look like, y'all know that look is a scowl, like saying, boy, what did I say to get that water? Because it was the little things when I go back to think about what I remember most. I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters, and we didn't have a lot. My mom worked at, she did housekeeping for a living and worked at various places, hotels and hospitals. And, I always noticed that she had, this look on her face. And I could tell then, even back then, growing up as a kid, that it was really just a struggle for her to raise us. So I started to do things like, as young as I can remember, at about, maybe 11 or 12, I would go hang out at my friend's house. I would stay the night at my friend's house. And initially I did these things because I was trying to alleviate some of the pain that my mother may have been experiencing from raising children. And in my case, and in our case, 6 brothers and sisters as a single mom. So I would stay with my buddies, different buddies, just to give my mom a break. And I felt, even as a kid, that if I didn't show up and if I wasn't there, it was good. That means that she would have one less child to feed. So that was my logic. And when you're a child, you're always, in a sense, blaming yourself, when things are wrong, or, when fathers aren't around, or, when your mom is upset, you think it's you think that you're the problem. You feel like, man, my mother is struggling, or my parents are struggling. For those of you that have mom and dad, or mom or dad, you say, my parents are struggling, and that's my fault. Like, I am to blame for this. And when you are a child, you believe that. At least I did. I thought it was my fault. So I was just trying to find any means, any ways that I could get outside of the house, get away. I don't think she wanted me to not be there, but I think with me not being there at times, spending time with different buddies, and friends, and, or family, I think it provided some peace to an extent. I would say that I was a mother's boy, and I don't know that I would have said that back then. But I recently had a conversation with, I was recently conversing with my sister's grandmother, because I grew up in a single parent home, and we had different fathers. We all shared the same mother, but some of us had different fathers. So it's kind of like a blended family, I think. I don't know if that's the correct term, but I think that sort of makes sense. But she said, oh, it's so good to see you. I remember when you were a kid, you used to be all up under your mother. You were a little bow-legged kid walking around, and You always hung with your mother. Now, I've always loved my mother, but I didn't realize that I was connected by the hip to her, when I was a kid. But then it made sense as I started to grow. I remember times where my mother would be having conversations with her friends in the living room, and I would walk downstairs or wherever they were, and I would I wanted to sit in, I wanted to chill, I wanted to be there, I wanted to talk, I wanted to just hang out with her. And she would be like, boy, take your butt outside or go upstairs. It's grown folks talking here. So, when I look back now, I think it all makes, some sense. I think that maybe I was a mother's boy, or mama's boy, and I didn't know it, but I think so. So when she was experiencing this, back to what I was saying, when she were going through her problems and experiencing, I was close to her, and I could feel that she needed a release, if you will, some space. She was searching for peace. And that was my way of hoping to help her cope with having us as children, because clearly we are the problem. At least that's what I was thinking, right? As I was growing up, she would always bring it up time to time, but I guess I really was a runaway child. Because for those of you that may or may not have grown up under tough circumstances with a single parent, or having someone raise you in an environment that's very challenging. So not only if you're growing up in poverty or under unfortunate circumstances, meaning your household conditions, your family conditions, you tend to become hardened, if you will, to those environments. You tend to become someone that, in many cases, become a victim of their circumstances. And I thought that it was okay to be raised in an environment and not have, your father around actively, because that's the only thing that I felt that I needed to be the man of the house. Any resources to help out. And in many cases, I've always felt like when something happened, it was my fault. It was my fault. I could have done something about that. Why did my mother feel that way? And when you're growing up and you're trying to be the parent and that's not even your job, that's just, it's a shame. And I wouldn't change my experiences, because those experiences made me who I am today. And I'm very proud of who I am. I'm very proud of the things that my mother instilled in me. I'm very proud of what she gave. She would do anything for her children. And I remember, she was dying. One of the things I remember my uncle telling me is that she said to make sure you take care of my kids. And that right there is touching, but it's like, wow, like you're on your dying bed, and the only thing she cared about was if we were going to be good. And here I was trying to run away. Here I was thinking that I needed to go somewhere else. I needed to find an exit, but she didn't want us to exit. She wanted us there. She wanted me there. And I just think that at least on my life, that was very impactful, And as I've grown and, processed through her passing, as I processed through the struggles she went through in her personal life, being terminally ill, her growing up with a father that was an alcoholic that eventually died because of alcoholism, and just seeing the things that she did and did not do, meaning drugs, She wasn't a drinker. I think she would have a wine cooler or something back then, every now and again. But she was definitely against drugs, and never smoked weed or anything. And I'm glad that takes me to this point. I'm glad that she didn't, because I think had I saw my mother do those things when she was the only person in the house that I can look up to, a role model, I think that it would have led to me doing drugs. No matter what your circumstances is, you need a positive and good role model in your life. That role model doesn't always have to be someone in your home in which you are seeing every day. So it matters. But one thing I will say is being raised in certain environments and in a single parent home taught me to be a tough SOB. I mean, when you having to fend for yourself and you having to go out and learn in environments that are not conditioned for positive learning. But when you use those environments to get out, and you use those environments, you saying that, hey, I may have started from here, but I'm going to find a way to get out. And that may be difficult because you have people in your environments that are persuading you. You have people in your environments that are heavily influenced by others' decisions. I can guarantee you it'll be all worth it. These days, since my mother has passed away, I find new ways and other things and activities to get into, which helps me to honor her. Traditionally, when, at least in Black homes, most people, what I see growing up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, I see a lot of people, maybe on the anniversary of their parents' death or a family member, or birthdays, Christmas, holidays. And typically what I'll see is people going to put flowers on the graves and things of that nature. And I think that's great. But that was never really one of my things. What I like to do, on my mother's birthday is reflect. Take a day of reflection, just sit back, chill, think about the experiences that her and I have had together. Think about, wow, look how far I've come, and then I like to just thank her, and say, thank you for being you. Thank you for the things that you've instilled in me. Thank you for helping me become, who I am today. And although there's a plight to continue, there's a journey. I'm very proud, when I celebrate her on those special days, which in my case is her birthday. It's nothing big. It's usually just myself and me reflecting back on, the memories and the joy and the times that we had. So that helps me. That helps me to have moved on, always keeping her in my heart, hoping one day when I do have a family that I can instill some of those things that she instilled in me, teaching me how to be strong, teaching me how to be independent and get out and fend for myself. Many may say, as a kid, some of those experiences and some of those things you're talking about should not have happened, but I wouldn't be me. Thanks for coming along and joining me on this journey of discovery and self-reflection. And I hope through my experiences that I have provided some peace, hope, and perspective that will inspire you to move forward and to become a better version of yourself. If you liked my content, please subscribe. And remember, aspire to inspire before we expire. See you next week. Peace.